Om JJ Saima. I honor the divine feminine within you, within me. Welcome. Good morning. Good day. My name is Jivan Das Maharaj, and it's my great, great pleasure to be with us all this morning. I'd like to start this morning with a story. And it's an adaptation of a story that Her Holiness Saima has shared with us in the past. So to go into this story, we'll start by being in India in ancient times. And there was a young boy who was a part of a low caste. He was very poor and from a very poor family. And he had this burning desire and a yearning to know God. Yet he had nothing and no real access to finding out what he wished. So he traveled to an ashram, a monastery, where he was able to live, but he was not accepted as a part of one of the normal devotees and the children there. The other children there and all the other people there were from higher castes, from wealthier families, had more going for them, and they really thought that they knew more than this young boy. And in fact, they did. They were well educated. They'd been trained by pundits for most of their lives. And this young boy didn't really know much. And the one thing that he had was desire. And so throughout the years, the other boys who were clothed in their fancy dhotis and their ochred colored cloths got to spend a lot of time with the guru of this ashram, the master of this ashram, the teacher. And they spent lots and lots of time in satsang, receiving teachings, given individual attention. And all the while, this teacher and this master paid attention to them, but he always noticed this other young boy. And this other young boy did not let this get to him. He swept the floors, he cleaned the bathrooms, and he did all the chores that no one else really would ever have done. And every day, every morning, this young boy would go to the river and he would create a figure of his master, of his teacher from the mud. And he would worship this murti, this statue that he made. And then every day he would clean the bathrooms, he'd sweep the floors, he'd clean the dishes, and do all of the things that no one else would ever do. And all the while, the teacher and the master and the other students received a lot of attention, received a lot of blessings. And the only thing that this child ever received was what he worshiped. He worshiped his sense of longing. He worshiped the ideal of his teacher, the perfection of his teacher. And over the years, as years and years went by, this young boy, and now young adult, who cleaned the bathrooms, who smelled, who wore rags, started to surpass the development of his contemporaries. And yet he still practiced, he still worshiped every morning, made the murti out of mud of his teacher, worshiped that with the full, infinite longing of his heart. And over time, and the teacher didn't give him much attention, let him do his thing. And over time, this young derelict student who came from nothing and had nothing except for the access to his infinite heart reached the enlightened stage. He realized the oneness of all things and eventually became the guru and the teacher of that ashram. And I share this story with us because I was contemplating worship. Here we are, the day 3 of Navaratri, the worship of the Divine Mother, which billions of people on this planet partake in. And the reason that people worship is because we become what we think about. How we think and feel today creates our tomorrow. So many of us, especially in this culture, we worship money. We worship that perfect relationship out there, our soulmate. We worship worry. We worship doubt in ourselves and everything around us. And ultimately, a lot of us in this culture worship fear, especially at this time, because there's so much reason around us, so much evidence around us to be in fear, to be fearful. Just like in this ashram, there were so many reasons for this young boy who had nothing to feel doubt, to feel hopeless, to feel awful, like he was nothing, like he was the dirt on the ground. And yet he didn't. And he attained everything and more of what he had been thinking of and what he'd been feeling every day. So for me, this story is just a reminder for us that we become what we think about. We become what we worship. We become what we feed in ourselves and in the world around us. So for our practice today, we are going to worship the breath. This point source, this singularity of life itself. And for me, the easiest and most simple access to all that is in our oneness and our greatest potential. So if you haven't already, you may close the eyes. And allow the mind to become familiar with the silence. Gently and easily guide the mind into befriending the stillness and befriending the silence. And with every moment that passes, let us tether the mind to the breath. Through this very simple practice, we can become masters of our mind and teach the mind what to worship. And so with every breath, let us relax onto the breath. And with every passing moment, we consciously rest the mind on the ebb and flow of the breath. And with every moment, we welcome the essence of life and its purity within the breath. We welcome our own perfection as light, as love, and as all that is within the breath of now. And we'll add one layer onto this breath, which we call Ujjayi breathing. And we'll slightly close the back of the breath such that our breath begins to sound like the ocean. Continuing this breath of Ujjayi breathing, merging with that flow of life that is reflected in the infinite waves of the ocean. Guiding the mind into this breath. Which gives us access to the I am that I am. Every breath that passes, we make an offering to our surrender to the great infinite self within. With every breath, we make this breath our worship. And with every breath, we come closer and closer to being breathed. This great practice of surrender. And with every breath, we make ourselves more and more open. And with every breath, we become more and more aware of the state of stillness and peace that resides within us through all times. And we train the mind like a puppy. We gently and lovingly train the mind to be taught by the breath. Every moment is a drop of Amrit, this divine nectar of existence that teaches us and guides us. And allows us to open like a flower at dawn. Every breath of this Ujjayi breathing allows our heart to become more and more of a bloom. A flower blossoming to the sun of existence. A result of our worship of the breath as source. And we'll add one more layer to this breath. And continuing the Ujjayi breath with the throat slightly closed, we'll continue the conscious inhale, followed by a brief pause at the top of the inhale, followed by a conscious exhale, followed by a brief conscious pause at the bottom of the exhale. And as we feel to extending that pause at the top of the breath and the bottom of the breath, making the inhales and the exhales and the pauses more and more conscious. That through our surrender to this breath, we gain access to the kingdom of God. With every inhale and exhale, we become more and more innocent. We become like the child who worshiped his master. We become like we were as children, only focused on joy, exploration, discovery. A burning desire to play in the field of all possibilities. And as we continue this Ujjayi breath, with the conscious inhale and exhale and pause, we become that which we worship. The breath as all that is. And as we extend the pause between the inhale and the exhale, we taste and touch, even if for a moment, the bliss of the enlightened state. We taste the oneness that we are, that is so accessible in these times. We taste the togetherness of our own very hearts. With every breath, we taste we're all in this together. We become what we think. And how we think and feel now becomes our tomorrow. Every moment an offering. Every breath a worship. And every moment that passes, we receive more and more of the grace that is being poured through every human on this planet. Our hearts are full. Our breath is surrendered. And we become the fullness of life that we ultimately are. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here on the planet now and for doing what you do in your own dedication to your own evolution. I am deeply grateful. Have a wonderful day. Om JJ Saima. I honor that divinity within you and within me. Thank you.